I just think the quarterback play in the NFC is not nearly as good in the AFC, and that gives the Eagles a chance. I mean, where does Jalen Hurts fit in the mix? And, maybe that's a discussion, for another time, but where does Jalen Hurts fit in that quarterback mix in the NFC? I mean, where?
It is a Football Friday here on Birds 365. Mac and Mac guys, McMullen and McDonald. Joined by our Football Friday game day guy, Ed Kracz, Johnny's running mate at Sports Illustrated. Good enough to hop on board with us. What are you doing this weekend, Kratzy?
I might be shoveling some snow.
You're going to get lucky again. We're going to get it worse than you. That's out in the western suburbs. We're going to get whacked here in South Jersey again.
Good to hear.
Oh, hold on. I got something in my eye, Ed. Yeah, thank you very much.
Let me help you with that. It's snowing right now, so I don't know. I don't know what they're calling for. I mean,
is it really? I didn't look outside.
Yeah, they're supposed to be the heavy stuff, to use my Bill Murray, is not going to come down until tonight, so you're fine. You might get a dusting before that. I spend way too much time looking at weather forecasts. Yeah, but that's partially my wife's influence as well. So
well, they're calling
another little thing you learn about me. Disturbing thing, probably.
Yeah. I thought I saw they're calling for between 2 and 20 inches the last time I saw. Is that right? I mean, they really have it narrowed down here, don't they?
Yeah, I put that. I put that headline up. We asked Ira Kaufman about that yesterday either. That was from the New York Daily News. So I joked. I said, you know what? I was thinking about keeping it a trace to 21 inch. But I really wanted to lock down this prediction. They want 2 to 20. Yeah, that's pretty amazing that they put that out there. But all right, nobody turns into Burst 365 for the weather, Ed. So I'm going to change to the Philadelphia Eagles. And now all of a sudden, the Chicago Bears are sniffing around Kevin Patullo and Ian Cunningham. Reports are Matt Eberflus obviously was on the staff, Frank Reich staff, with Nick Sirianni, Patullo, Jonathan Gannon, Jason Michael, on and on and on. So that's the way this industry works. How much does it hurt the Eagles if they lose? And remember, who was going to be the interim coach when Nick had COVID? It was going to be Kevin Patullo, his right-hand man.
Yeah.
Concerned at all that the staff will be unsettled after 1 year? And we still have Jonathan Gannon potentially going to Houston as well.
Yeah. Well, listen, any good team is going to lose coaches from its staff. And, the Eagles were a marginally good team this year. I'm not real concerned about losing Kevin Patullo. I know him and Sirianni are close. He calls him his right-hand man, like you said, and he was going to be kind of the interim coach. I think he was just going to be kind of the decision maker, right? Going into the game, like, are we going to call heads or
CEO coach, which everybody should have.
Whoa. Are you suggesting Kevin Patullo might not have deferred if he had been the head coach?
You said
Is that
Jody
what you're saying, Ed Kracz?
Yeah, listen, that's part of his game day role. I mean, so listen, I'm with you, Jody. I don't like the take the ball robots or defer robots, I guess I should say.
By the way, Kevin would have got fired if he took the ball.
That's okay. He could land in Chicago. So Kevin, don't sweat it, big guy.
Yeah, there's always a disruption, I think, in a staff if you lose somebody, and you might lose, like you said, Gannon and maybe Patullo. But I don't think it's the end of the world. I think anybody's replaceable, and they would find someone else and move on from there. I mean, and maybe keep the same system, maybe tweak a little bit of the system, but. I'm not that concerned about losing a Kevin Patullo and even a Jonathan Gannon. I mean, I think that the system is going to be what it is. A new coach might tweak it a bit, but you have your personnel in place more or less. You're going to have changes, obviously, at the personnel side, but I think it would be pretty seamless if they were to lose either one.
Ed, I have to borderline apologize, but not really, because I've enjoyed it too much. I pimped you a couple times about Brandon Brooks, who today had this week had his retirement day down at the NovaCare complex. He said he's going to start taking classes at the University of Penn. We know all the injuries that he's had. When he's right, he's one of the best offensive linemen. And I do say all-inclusive offensive linemen, not just guard or right guard in the entire National Football League. He's 32. A lot of guys play past 32.
Yeah.
A year of just sitting around and not doing anything and not rehabbing. His body starts to feel amazing. Is there any chance that Brandon Brooks rethinks his position? I could point to the Gronks of the world and the guys who have come back from retirement. Is this a complete 100% done deal, or are you putting it at about 98?
Well, gee, am I the one you want to ask that question?
Yes, because you kept telling me he was coming back.
That's what I'm saying.
You had this inside. I thought you had an inside information lane.
Yeah, well, then I'm not going to close the door. But listen, when he came out of his last surgery, I think it was the Achilles. It was before the pec strain. I mean, he came in at like 280 pounds. 280. Yeah. Remember all that weight he lost? And
yeah.
I think he felt really good at that weight, and then he had to gain it all back to get back up to the the non-human weight of 340 pounds or so. I mean, that up and down stuff is not good, obviously, for the body. So, I wonder if some of what the weight that he lost out of his last surgery kind of impacted his decision too. He's walking around at 280, and he probably feels pretty good, and everything else feels pretty good. So, I think he likes that part of it, and. I say I won't close the door, but I would be very surprised if Brandon Brooks played again. I think he's sincere about his desire to move on from the game. And, he left on kind of his terms, I guess you could say. I mean, he didn't hang on too long. He didn't struggle through another injury. And I think he's sincere about it. I think he'll go to business school. Someone asked me if I thought he could get in to business school.
Yeah, he'll get in.
If he's smart enough. I'm like, yeah, I think
I think he'll get in.
I think
could
that
be a
NFL
potential
resume.
endowment if he's not smart enough.
Exactly.
For the Wharton School of Business. Andrew Bryant, our buddy, will get him in. Trust me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he won't have any trouble getting in. But listen, I would like to see him, be a coach at some point, maybe do an internship like Trey Thomas did for the Eagles back in the day. And you see the Eagles take some of these former players of theirs like Connor Barwin and Brent Selleck and Darren Sproles, I guess to a lesser extent. You don't see Sproles as much, but Barwin's there every single day at practice. So, I'd kind of like to see him maybe transition into something like that. Maybe see him in spring training as kind of a mentor to some different players. But yeah, Jody, I'm never going to close the door 100%, but I would say that this probably is the end for Brandon Brooks.
I think you can close that door for this reason. You hit on the reason, Ed, and that's the weight. Because if you think about it, if the Wharton School of Business is too difficult and the Eagles suffer injuries and it's week 13, they're making a playoff run, and they say, yeah, let's call up Brian and see if he wants to play. You hit the nail on the head. He's going back down to 260. He loves working out, MMA, kickboxing, all that stuff. He looked like a bodybuilder when he was rehabbing from the second Achilles tear. So he's going to go back down to 275. So even if somebody called him, he wouldn't be ready to play. He'd have to go back to 340, 335 to be Brandon Brooks. So I think the minute he does that, the door is shut. I really think and he's also very thoughtful. We joked about, can he get in the pen? He probably can. He's a very thoughtful, very intelligent person. Anybody who listened to 40-plus minutes earlier this week knows how smart he is. And I just think he as he mentioned, he heard his body talking to him. And I do think we can close the door on Brandon Brooks. And that leads me to my next question. We're closing the door on a lot of people. Ben Roethlisberger yesterday in Pittsburgh, but more notably is still the potential that Tom Brady walks away in Tampa. Then we have the potential Aaron Rodgers either walks away, which is unlikely, or more likely is headed out to Denver. Sean Payton walked away at least for a short time. Don't close the door on him. He'll be back. This NFC could be wide open, Ed Kracz. If that happens, Tom Brady's gone. Aaron Rodgers is in the AFC. Sean Payton's gone. Does that change your philosophy if you're Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie? Like, we got a chance. Does that change your thought process going into this offseason?
In terms of what, bringing in another quarterback, a veteran quarterback, or just
anything? Going the LA Rams all-in route, we'll call it, as they get prepared to try to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I think they're going to stay the course with their draft picks. I mean, they went all in when they won the 2017 Super Bowl, right? They traded away picks. They tried to keep that window open for as long as they could, and then they paid the price. Now they're kind of retooling the roster to get younger, and these draft picks let them do that. But I think you can just stay the course, and like you said, the NFC is wide open. If you stay the course and you have another good draft this year, you put together some free agents that can come in and make an impact. Then why would you change the course? Why not just keep the course what it is and try to become the best team in this wide open NFC? But it's weird when you look at the two conferences and the quarterback play. I mean, who are the good quarterbacks or the great quarterbacks now if Rodgers and Brady leave in the NFC? I mean, they're the legacy quarterbacks. I mean, who's the really good quarterback now? Do you put Matthew Stafford in there, or I mean, who exactly? Meanwhile, in the AFC, you have the Joe Burrow and the Patrick Mahomes, which is going to be should be a great shootout on Sunday. Everybody's really conceding a Chiefs win, but I say not so fast on that. But the quarterback play in the AFC right now is younger and it's better than what it is in the NFC. Now maybe that will change, in this coming draft where there really aren't quarterbacks expected to be great, but who knows about that? So. I just think the quarterback play in the NFC is not nearly as good in the AFC, and that gives the Eagles a chance. I mean, where does Jalen Hurts fit in the mix? And, maybe that's a discussion, for another time, but where does Jalen Hurts fit in that quarterback mix in the NFC? I mean, where?
Wait till Kevin Patullo gets his hands on Justin Fields. Watch out, Chicago Bears fans.
Hopefully. I'd love to see young quarterback play develop, and in the New York Jets, Jody, your beloved Jets, where does your quarterback fit in that AFC mix?
That's a tougher landscape.
Yeah, he's got more landmines in the AFC to get over. Let me follow up on John's question because it lends itself to a specific line of thinking. This offseason for the Eagles, they're kind of in a balancing act position. Because, yes, transitional, like Jeff Lurie said, and that's what Howie Roseman said in the final press conference, is their direction this year. But they did make the playoffs. They were above 500. There could be lesser teams to compete with in the NFC. So I think they're on that cutting edge kind of balancing act, which you don't want to go like the Rams all in and give up all your draft picks. No. But nor do you want to say, we're just got a young. We're not really Super Bowl contenders. Eagle fans are going to want to hear that a little bit. So you got to try and balance it. One guy they got as a prospective free agent this season is their starting safety, Mr. McLeod. I think he's still got game. I think he got better as the year went on. He is a veteran leader of this team. Brandon Brooks wasn't an outspoken guy, but he certainly was a veteran presence on this line. And they basically were without him all year, so you factor that in. But Rodney came back and played. And as the season went on, I thought he got better and played better each and every single week. He's one of those cutting-edge guys. Do you move on from him just because of his age? Do you move on him because of his level of play? Do you make a concerted effort to keep him because of what he brings to the table? I think it's interesting just because this week he comes in, we're looking at him the same week that they lose a guy from the same exact free agent class back in 2006. They brought McLeod and Brooks in together. What do you think they're going to do with Rodney McLeod, Ed Kracz?
Yeah, it's interesting. Him and Brooks are the same age. McLeod has a similar injury history to Brooks with his ACL injuries. And it was interesting to hear McLeod talk about how, his knee wasn't really to where it was before he tore the ACL, and that was deep into the season when he kind of admitted to us, right, John, at a press conference in his knee.
December. So,
yeah, I mean, there were 10 months away from the surgery, and he was still 12 months away, and it still wasn't 100%. So I would love to see them bring McLeod back, but I think that those injuries to his knees have robbed him of some of his speed, and at 32, you're not going to get faster. I mean, I think you almost have to check into the health of that knee. He'd be a great guy, obviously, to have, in the locker room, but I just think he's more of a liability at this point, on the defensive side of the ball, and you have to find a way to kind of transition into a younger back end. Now, maybe they'll bring McLeod back for a year deal. I'm not sure his market's really going to develop in the offseason. I don't think there's going to be a big contract waiting for him. So maybe you bring him back on a 1-year deal again and you play a year to year with him and you roll the dice. But I think if you do that and maybe you draft somebody and then you just transition away from McLeod, you cut back on his snaps, but he's still a presence in the locker room and on the team. But you need to get better on that back end, and bringing Rodney McLeod back is not going to make you better on the field.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with you, Ed. The question to me would be a more all-encompassing question at safety. Do you really want to replace both starters? Is it a decision that you want to bring one back and potentially draft a safety, try to get younger, try to get that turnover? Remember, you have the 3 first-round picks, the kid from Notre Dame. I always forget his name. Jody, help me.
Kyle Hamilton.
And by the way, I'm seeing mock drafts that have him falling all the way down to the Eagles. I'll object and tell you no chance, no shot. I think the kid could get taken in the top 5, and certainly it's going to be a top 10. I don't think there's any way he comes all the way down.
Well, you know how those things go. When he gets to the combine, what's he going to run? Is he going to run a 4.4? Then he's probably going top 5. If he runs a 4.6, then maybe he starts to fall a little bit, and the Eagles can get him. But I think you want that security blanket. And remember, you could package, if he starts dropping to 10 or 11, you could package 15, 16, go up and get him and do something of that nature, or 15, the second round pick, whatever you have to do to go up and get a player, depending how high you have to go up and get him. He'd be a perfect fit for this defense, though. But you still want that security blanket. You want one veteran. And is Marcus Epps, are you comfortable with just Marcus Epps as somebody coming back in the system?
Well, there's a role for Epps for sure, but you're right, John. I mean, to lose both safeties. But again, if I had to make a decision between McLeod and Harris, I'd probably lean toward Harris at this point. He doesn't exactly have the speed either that excites you, but I think he's got more speed than Rodney. He's got less of an injury history. I think he's a year younger in the scheme of things. I don't know how much that matters, but I would just lean toward Harris. And he's a veteran presence too. It would be his second year on the team.
He's got longer history with Gannon as well.
Right, if Gannon's back. But yeah, I would probably lean toward Harris. And, like I said, McLeod, great player for this organization since 2016. He's meant a lot in the community. He's just a good all-around guy. And you hate to say goodbye to guys like that. And when you look at, who the Eagles have left from that Super Bowl team, and it was just 4 years ago, next week when we had the parade. I mean, there's not many guys left that are under contract. I think there's 6 players left, and that's really amazing that just 4 years later, there's only 6 players under contract that played on that Super Bowl team. And I'm not counting McLeod there because he's not under contract, but I think I would move on from Rodney unless, again, he takes a 1-year deal, very low money, and is willing to kind of accept a role that may decrease as the season goes on based on what you do in the offseason at that position.
Understand the desire and the need for the Eagles to get younger in the secondary. So let me put it this way, Ed Kracz. 1 year, $5 or $6 million, not outrageous, a fair market value, but short term, only 1 year. You're bringing back one of 3 secondary starters last year. Harris, McLeod, Steven Nelson. You can only bring one back. Which one you bring back?
Well, I think I went with Nelson when you asked me that a little while ago. But looking at the safety conundrum, losing both would hurt. And I really think they will take a corner at some point in this draft that they're going to hope can step right in day one. Maybe it's Zach McPherson. I don't know. They took him last year in the fourth round, I guess it was. But I would. I said Nelson. I'm still sticking with Nelson, and then I would go Harris and then McLeod. But I get what you guys are saying. That to lose both veteran safeties in a room where you don't have that security blanket if things don't go the way you hope in the offseason. But I think they're going to probably spend some of that money they have now on the cap. I think it's going to be a safety and it's going to be a receiver, I think, is two of those targets with that free agent money. So if they sign a veteran safety that's young, like the guy from New Orleans, Williams, or your boy Jody, Marcus May, I don't see them bringing back either one of them. They'll sign a veteran that's younger, faster, and then they'll draft one, and then they'll roll the dice. They may even bring in a couple guys in the draft at safety. So I just think they'll probably sign somebody that's cheaper and younger and probably more effective at this stage of his career than either Harris or McLeod.
All right, Ed, let's ship to on-field action, game day Kracz, because there is football this weekend. It's Championship Sunday, and I'm pretty excited with these matchups, especially Cincinnati, Kansas City, because I'm with you. I think that's going to be an explosive game. I think Cincinnati struggled with Tennessee because of Tennessee's front. I don't think Kansas City can bring that kind of pressure on a consistent basis, and that Kansas City secondary can be gashed. And if anybody can gash you, it's Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. The last time they played the Kansas City Chiefs, which you don't have to go back very far. It was week 17 when the Bengals clinched the AFC North title. They came back from 2 touchdowns down to win the game. Jamar Chase had 266 receiving yards. Joe Burrow had well over 400 passing yards. I think we're going to see a shootout on Sunday afternoon. That's the first game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Joe Burrow in that game was 30 for 39. I mean, that's just crazy. And we all know this Chiefs defense is not very good. That's been their Achilles heel all year. They struggle against good quarterbacks just like the Eagles. I think most teams do struggle against good quarterbacks. But this Chiefs defense is not very good. Granted, this is a much bigger step up than it was that week. What was it, week 17 or week 18 matchup that they played?
Week 17, I think.
Yeah. So granted, the stakes are much higher here, and we all talked about how the experience of Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith and Landon Dickerson playing for the University of Alabama helped them in a big game. I'm not sure it did in Tampa, but Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow won a national championship together at LSU in 2019, I think it was. So, they've played in big games before, but they've got to protect Burrow against that Chiefs front. I mean, he was sacked 9 times against the Titans and still led that team to victory. I mean, that's just amazing when you think about that. But yeah, I think it's going to be a shootout. But how does it top last week's game? That's
tough.
How does this weekend top those 4 from last weekend? I don't know. I hope they're just as compelling and just as exciting. And I think the Chiefs are 7-point favorites, which is a lot of points to lay here in this game. I know it's in Arrowhead Stadium. The last meeting was in the jungle there on the Ohio River in Cincinnati's home stadium. But this is a big step for the Bengals. And if they can take this step, I mean, that would be huge for them. I think it's going to be tough. I really do. I think the Chiefs probably won't win by 7, but I think they'll probably win the game. But the Bengals are going to make it tough for them, no doubt, because they can move the football against this Chiefs defense. The question is, can they stop Patrick Mahomes? And not many teams can do
probably
that.
Not. Yeah,
and
that part probably
defense.
Not.
Yeah, I couldn't.
They're good. They're better than people think. They're better than.
Other than Trey Hendrickson, who I think has 14 sacks.
Great year.
You have to look on. You got to you have to be
Logan Wilson is a hell of a linebacker, and that's one guy that the Eagles should have considered. What draft was that? Probably 2020. He's turned into a heck of a player.
Didn't the Eagles get Wilson as a linebacker this offseason?
They got a Wilson.
Yeah, they got the wrong Wilson.
They got the wrong Wilson.
They got Mr. Wilson.
Eddie, here's one of my concerns from a Cincinnati standpoint, and I'm kind of hoping and leaning toward them for close game purposes. Is this a coaching mismatch?
Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I jumped in there.
Yeah, checking boxes. I would check the Chiefs box on the coaching front there. Sure, Andy Reid. You mentioned it earlier, Jody. He's been to 4 straight AFC championship games. Went to 4 straight NFC championship games. What has Zach Taylor done? I mean, this is his first championship game. So yes.
I don't want to think about that, but I call that Jody's a pro wrestling fan like me, Ed. You're more the amateur wrestling style coach of the, what is it, Penridge?
Penridge Rams. Yeah, we just won our league championship.
There we go. Night. Championship coach. So I'll say that, but I will call the coaching matchup a squash match. And Jody,
I wasn't ready to go there, but you know why I asked the question.
But I will say, and I'll turn that to the NFC. We'll get your thoughts on the NFC. There's a lot of talk in the NFC that Kyle Shanahan's in Sean McVay's head. And I like what Sean McVay said. He said, you guys put too much emphasis on coaching. It's about the players, and nobody's in anybody's head, which we can debate. But if that's the case, maybe it's not that big of a deal. And when I look at this Rams team and how they played against the Buccaneers, now, if you clean up the mistakes, the stupid snap, the fumbles, they win that game going away. That front with Aaron Donald and teaming up Von Miller, and you have Leonard Floyd, they just were all over Tom Brady. And they went all in. We talked about that a little bit earlier. That is a talented group for the Los Angeles Rams against a team from San Francisco that's got to do some different things and got to scheme up things to win football games. You think the Rams finally get over the hump against Kyle Shanahan's 49ers?
Well, you mentioned it is Shanahan and McVay's head. How about the players' heads, the Rams' heads? The 49ers have beaten them 6 straight times. I mean, how do you approach that? I mean, this is, the stakes are higher here now. All that stuff, the old cliche goes out the window at this stage. So it should just be talent on talent. And listen, if I'm the Rams, I'm putting everybody over Tom Compton or Mike Compton. Oh, yeah.
Aaron Donald's going to be.
I'm lining up 6 guys over him. And I'm not even bothering with Trent Williams on the other side. I mean, that's where your pressure's got to come from if you're the Rams, is over that right side.
Yeah. Aaron Donald is chomping at the bit to get at Tom Compton as we speak today. That might be a bigger mismatch than Andy Reid versus Zach Taylor.
Yeah, I think that this 6-game losing streak to the 49ers will even give the Rams that much more motivation to go out and win. I like the Rams in this game. I think I don't know. I think it's 3.5. They're favored by 3.5, but I think they're going to win by more. Again, Jimmy Garoppolo to me it's just a mystery to me that he's still the quarterback of this team, and yet.
Well, I mean, nothing against Jimmy, but if you go Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford, Jimmy Garoppolo, the old game, who doesn't belong?
And then again, it comes down to the
all Jimmy does is win. I know he doesn't do it pretty. I know the numbers don't jump off the page the way they do with the other quarterbacks.
Oh, at
the guy's 60 minutes away from going to 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls.
At some point, I feel sorry for all the what he takes, but he definitely doesn't belong with that group.
And then it comes down like what we said earlier, the NFC quarterback position. Look at the 2 in the NFC championship game. Matthew Stafford, who, let's face it, he's up and down throughout his career. And then Jimmy Garoppolo. To me, the quarterback situation in the NFC, this is typical of what's going on in that conference. But you're right about Jimmy G. All he does is get win, even though it wasn't him that blocked the punt in Green
Little
Bay.
help from his friends on special teams. Yeah, I get that. I see that. But if he's the quarterback at the end of the day and his team wins, you got to give him at least some credit.
Yeah.
I'd rather have the talented guy than the rabbit's foot. But hey, if you got a rabbit's foot, you hold on to it. Maybe it works for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
the more talented guy is Stafford, has been Stafford, and we're waiting for Stafford to make it to a Super Bowl. Jimmy G, been there, done that.
Yeah. That's he almost won it. He should have won it if he didn't turn into Jimmy G at 12 o'clock, which happened to be the third quarter whistle.
Yeah. And I would even say Mahomes was more Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl. The guy went all out nuts on him, and he's going to have to face that again if Kansas City gets there. Do either one of you guys want to see a rematch from 2 years ago, San Francisco against Kansas City, or has it got to be new blood?
I want to see personally, and I'll let Ed chime in with his predictions after. I want to see Cincinnati against the Rams. That's what I want to see. Who I think we're going to see is Kansas City against the Rams.
No,
that's how I'll phrase it.
Yeah. I'm with you there, John. I mean, I'm always for the new blood. I get a little fatigued of some of the teams that continue to win all the time. Nothing personal. I just get fatigued from the, all the winning that the Kansas City does and at University of Alabama. I like to see new blood in there. And the Bengals are certainly new blood, one of those franchises that never have won the Super Bowl.
They're the only one that has a chance. The only one to break through.
So you're an anti-Alabama guy, Ed? So Hurts and Smith, the Eagles, now you've already seen too much of them because they were part of.
I'm an anti-Alabama guy. I'm trying to get Xander raised up. I'm sick of that team.
It's just a program thing. It's not an individual thing. I thought Mac Jones was the nicest guy in the world when we did the Zoom stuff with, because I didn't have a combine. We did all these Zoom calls with.
It's nothing personal.
Mac Jones was a great guy, but it's just a program thing. You just get tired of seeing the same program win. Let's spread the love a little bit. Let's share the wealth, and let's give some of these upstarts.
I was rooting so hard for Cincinnati, and wasn't to be. I don't root for anything, and I was rooting for Cincinnati.
So you came up short with Cincinnati on the collegiate side. You're going to do
and
the
I'll
same
probably
again this week
with
Andy Reid going back to the Super Bowl again.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, I mean, they're just fun to watch. And they got T. Higgins, and, you can name their offensive guys. It's their defensive guys that you have to look at the program.
But they're solid. They're pretty good. They're pretty good defensively.
Yeah. Who's their D coordinator? I don't even know who their defensive coordinator is.
Lou Anamuro. I only know that because he got an interview with the Giants. I would have not known that until he got an interview to be the head coach of the Giants.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this team is like, you don't know who they are, but you're rooting for them because they're the new team. They're the upstart team that the city of Cincinnati doesn't have a Super Bowl title. I mean, I'd like to see all these cities experience that. Look what it did in Philadelphia when the Eagles won. It's just a great, great experience.
And they got the rookie kicker banging the 52-yarder. Remember what happened when Jake Elliott hit the 61-yarder against the New York Giants? It fueled the Philadelphia Eagles. Maybe that game winner fuels the Cincinnati Bengals. Who knows?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to win in Arrowhead, man. That place gets loud. And, even though Chase and Burrow won that national title, it was on a neutral field. Half of it was filled with LSU fans. It's going to be really tough for them to go in Arrowhead and pull this out. But I don't discount it if it happens.
All right, Ed Kracz, promise us this. When you're out tomorrow morning using a broom to sweep off the dusting on your steps in front of your house up there in the hinterlands north and west of Philadelphia, just remember, John and I will be out shoveling.
I'm stretching right now.
Over here in South Jersey. And just smile. All we ask for is a smile. Like, you just got to give us a smile, maybe a tip of the cap as you're out brooming your front lawn.
I'll give you a couple trunk twisters because I'll feel some sympathy back pain for you. Yeah. Kind of like when my wife was pregnant, I gained all that weight to kind of, sympathize. So I'll do the same for you guys, man. I'll think of that back pain you're going through.
I appreciate it. SI.com/NFL/Eagles, EagleMaven.com. And the great Ed Kracz, I will say.
Eddie K, enjoy the football this weekend, bud.
Thanks, guys. You too. See ya.
Ed Kracz here with us on Birds 365. All right, J-Mac and J-Mac coming back. McMullen and McDonald here with you on Birds 365. We'll go even more in depth to the game. You got Ed's take on it. John seems to have a rooting interest in then what he actually thinks is going to happen. Not unlike yours truly, but at some point you got to make picks, and you got to get your opinion on how the game is going to play out there, and or your money. If you're so moved to wager on the game, we'll give you some picks on the game coming up over the next hour. We still got an hour left to play here on Birds 365.